All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. Of course, I am your tour guide around the SWAC Seawell coming at you. And we're just going to do a little bit of news and notes episode of SWAC Talk today. We're going to touch on a few things: football, basketball, baseball, softball. Um, and we're just going to go from there. So, as usual, man, you can check out the posters on the screen. Go ahead and check those out. Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram is SWAC Talk, Twitter, SWACTalk76, email SWACTalk76 at gmail.com is the email address. Of course, I love to do this for you guys, but if you want to show a little bit of love and appreciation and help the show grow a bit, you can hit the Cash App, which is also SWAC Talk, a dollar sign SWAC Talk, and your Cash App if you'd like to donate a little bit to the show, man. It'd be much appreciated. And thank you very much. So, with that being said, man, we have SWAC Talk. They're rolling out soon. So, excuse me, SWAC Smoke Church. SWAC Talk stuff is coming at some point in the near future, but we got the SWAC Smoke Church. The first batch should be here soon. So, if you got one already, DJ hit you up and he'll be able to get you straight. But if you don't have one yet, you want one, man, hit up DJ. Here's his information. Hit his IG up and let him know you want a shirt. Two for 40 and one for 25. So you want to check those out. They come in white with red writing, SWAC Smoke across the front, and black with red writing, SWAC Smoke also as you see. So if you want to cop one of them, man, go ahead and hit up DJ. His Instagram is right there, and he'll get you all hooked up. So cop a SWAC Smoke shirt, man. In summertime, you want to put on a fresh tee and go outside, man. Rock that SWAC Smoke shirt. Football season coming up. Rock a little SWAC Smoke gear. So, man, make sure you hit up DJ for that. And show some love for our growing show. So, man, just subscribe to the channel while you're here, man. If you haven't done so already, man, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that like button when you watch these videos so you can get in that algorithm, man. Hit them like button. Feel free to comment and hit that notification bell so you can be alerted to any video that I drop outside of my normal schedule. Like the video I dropped the other night with my boy Zephaniah Maya interview. Really, really good interview I had with the newest Southern Jag commit. So if you haven't checked it out, I'm gonna put a link at the end of the video. You can click on it and check that out as well. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when new stuff drops because I'm gonna be trying to drop more videos more frequently outside of my normal schedule. So make sure you hit that so you know what's what. You don't miss out on anything. So with all that out of the way, man, let's go ahead and jump into these news and notes, man. We're gonna start with um let's start with football. We're going to start with flag football and just gonna talk a quick little bit of portal news. Um, Southern came up really big in the portal these last couple of days. Of course, they got Stephaniah Maya from University of Colorado. He had originally committed to Valley, but he flipped his commitment to Southern, so he's going to be a Southern Jag linebacker. Um, Corion Harris, formerly of Kansas and McNeese. He's a four-star cornerback from New Orleans, Louisiana. Went to Kansas with Les Miles when Les Miles was kind of trying to raid Louisiana for Kansas for players for Kansas. So he went to McNeese, was a second team All Conference selection in the Southland last year. He had a really good game against Southern last season, like 6 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, a sack, and a fumble recovery. So he had a huge game in that game. He also played big in the game against LSU the previous week for McNeese. So that's a definitely big enhancement to the defense. Got two defensive players coming in. Southern's really trying to look to strengthen up their defense this season. And Noah Biden surprisingly committed to Southern, formerly Grambling State quarterback. So he's gonna join that quarterback room. And if you want to check out my video I did last week about quarterback battles, you can add him to the Southern list now. And that's one more body that's gonna make for a very interesting fall camp and a quarterback battle that's now gonna have 4 arms in it instead of 3. So really interesting quarterback battle going on right there at Southern. So other than that, there hasn't been too many other additions. I'm sure something will probably come through while I'm doing this. So you know how that goes. So we'll talk about those when we get to them. Um, we may talk about them tomorrow on SWAC Smoke. So make sure you check out SWAC Smoke tomorrow because you never know what we're going to talk about anyway. So make sure you check that out. This is something I want to touch on, and this was um, y'all know the Blue Bloods, man. Blue is a goat in this, man. Blue is ACCU football, FBS, FCS, whatever, man. The dude is the truth. If you haven't checked out his channel, check it out. The Blue Bloods. Check out his Twitter. You know, man, he's thorough. Like you think I'm thorough. He's thorough, man, on all levels of football. So he actually had put up a tweet today that I saw a little while ago, and I wanted to just kind of expand on it. And it is something that's been kicked around the last couple of days on Twitter, and you know, I wanted to kind of give my two cents on it. But first and foremost, this topic is SWAC non-conference scheduling. I'm not going to really go too deep into that because I have a video that I made about that. So if you haven't seen it or you want to see it again and know my thoughts on that, I'm going to put that video at the end of this video. You can click on it. I'm also going to put the link in the description so you can check it out. So I'm not going to really rehash how I feel about non-conference scheduling because it's a sore subject for a lot of people. It's something that, you know, some people don't care, some do care. It's an extension of the playoff and Celebration Bowl battle. And these battles have been hit back and forth, and these horses have been killed, drug up, and killed again. So I'm not going to really hash out my thoughts on that anymore. If you want to see my rant about it, then you can check it out on that video. But like I said, man, Blue put up a tweet that was very, very interesting, man. You know, a lot of people talk about SWAC non-conference scheduling, and you know, he put this tweet up. I'm gonna put it up on the screen, and then I'm gonna kind of expand on what he said. You know, because this is real, man. These numbers are real, and this is like, you know, an eye opener for me because I knew we hadn't been doing so great in non-conference, but I did not know that the numbers were as they were. So basically, he went back from 2017 to now. That's basically 5 seasons, and he went through and showed how many games each team won in non-conference FCS games. These are only FCS games. No D2 games, no NAIA games, no FBS games, none of that. Just only FCS games. And as you can see, these numbers don't look great. Um, and this, to me, whether you fall on the side of we should be playing HBCUs, we should be playing PWIs and HBCUs, no matter what side of the fence you fall on. You should be in agreement that these numbers need to improve. You need to win non-conference games against FCS opponents. I mean, that's just, to me, that's just, however, whether it's MEAC, OVC, Southland, Southern Conference, you know, whatever, you need to win these games. If they're on your schedule, you need to win them. And there's no reason for a whole conference to not win very many non-conference games, and definitely not win very many MEAC and Tennessee State games. So I'm gonna go down this list that he put up there, and I'm just gonna add a little bit to it because that tweet was just on point, and you know, it made a ton of sense. It opened up a lot of eyes, and it started a little bit more conversation. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents on it because, like I said, man, this dude always drops gems. So I just wanted to add on a little bit to what he said. So just to put a little bit more context to it. Let's start with Alabama A&M. They are 3-2 in non-conference games against FCS opponents. They did not play one in 2017. They do have 4 FBS games in that time span, and 5 non-D1 games in that time span. They beat South Carolina State twice, and they beat North Alabama. So that's one of only a few non-HBCU non-conference victories. So they did pick up a victory over North Alabama. although they did lose to North Alabama, and then they lost to Stanford, also giving them that 3-2 record. Next is Bama State. They're 0-4 in non-conference FCS games, and they did not play one in 2021. They had 6 FBS games and 6 non-D1 games. Now those non-D1 games, a lot of those are Tuskegee, so you know that they play Tuskegee. Typically, they would play Tuskegee in the Turkey Day Classic. Although one year they played them early in the season because they could not. Tuskegee wanted to go to playoffs, and so they moved the game. But that's gonna probably be a game that's gonna be on their schedule a lot. So they're always gonna typically have at least one non D1 game on their schedule. And now they played Miles the last couple of years to open the season. So that's 2 non D1 games in their schedule, pretty annually, or at least semi-annually. So that lessens the amount of non-conference FBS games that you already can have, especially when you are playing 1 or 2 FBS games as it is. So they were 0-4. They didn't win a game. They lost to South Carolina State in the spring season, and then they lost to Kennesaw State 3 times. They had a series with them. I think it was a 2-for-1 at Kennesaw twice, and at Alabama State once, I believe. And they lost all 3. None of them were really close. So that's where Alabama State stands right now. Bethune-Cookman is 4-2 in FBS games in that time period. They beat Valley twice. They beat Jackson State in the Mid-SWAC Challenge, and they beat Southeastern Louisiana in a road game. They lost to Tennessee State and they lost to South Carolina State. So they have a mixed bag as far as opponents. They did have a game against Southeastern a couple of years ago that got canceled because of weather, hurricanes and stuff. So that's one other opportunity that they could have had that they did not. They play a lot of FBS games, sometimes 2 in a year. So they have 7 FBS games in that time span and 1 non-D1 game. FAMU is 3-2 in FBS non-conference games. They beat Southern in 2019. They beat South Carolina State last season, and in 2017, I think it was the Mid-SWAC Challenge. They beat Texas Southern. Then they lost to Jackson State in 2018, and they lost to Tennessee State, which was a game that they would play in Atlanta a lot, but that game has fallen off at this point. They have played 4 FBS opponents in this time span and 3 non-D1 games, all against Fort Valley State. Jackson State is 3-3 in that time span in FBS games. They beat Tennessee State twice. Obviously, the Southern Heritage Classic was a yearly thing, so that takes up 1 non-conference slot, and then that victory over FAMU in 2018. They lost to Bethune-Cookman, as I said, in the Mid-SWAC Challenge in 2019, and then they lost to Tennessee State in the Southern Heritage Classic 1 year, and then they lost to North Alabama. So that's their non-conference slate. They have played 4 FBS games in that time period and 3 non-D1 teams in that time span. The biggest number of non-conference FBS games is Valley. They played 13, and they don't play any FBS games. At least they haven't up to this point in their time. In their 5-period time span, they have not played an FBS game because at certain points they did not have enough scholarships to count for FBS games. So they go hard on FBS games. So they play a lot of tough FBS matchups year in and year out, and that's where that's why their schedule looks the way it is. And they have played also 2 non-D1 games. So they beat North Carolina Central last season for their homecoming. That was their 1 non-conference win. They lost to Bethune-Cookman twice. They lost to Murray State, Stephen F. Austin. They lost to Tennessee State. They lost to Lamar. They lost to Jacksonville State. They lost to North Dakota. They lost to Hampton. They lost to North Dakota State, Southern Illinois, and Charleston Southern University. So Valley, like I said, Valley will have the hardest non-conference schedule out of the league, minus FBS teams, pretty much year in and year out. They always are going to play 2 or 3 FBS opponents They may get one or two at home from time to time, but they will travel a lot for those games, and so that's why their numbers look like they do. Alcorn is 1-5 in non-conference games. They did not play one in 2020. Valley East, where nobody played. Most teams did not play an FCS opponent in 2020 out of conference because of basically the spring season would count toward that. So that was most of the conference games. Alcorn beat Northwestern State last season, and they lost to McNeese twice. They lost to North Carolina Central and in the MEAC Challenge, and then they lost to North Carolina A&T twice in the Celebration Bowl. Now, obviously, um, those weren't scheduled games, so in a technical way, that's not really a non-conference game, although it still is because you're playing against a team that is not in your league. But this was not a game that was scheduled on your regular season schedule. So, but for all intents and purposes, it still counts as not winning games outside of the league. So that's where their 1-5 record comes. They have had 5 FBS games and 4 non-D1 games. Pine Bluff is one of the teams with they have played 3 FCS games in this time span, and they're 1-2. They beat Tennessee State. Very exciting game on the last second touchdown in 2019. If you can find that game, you can check it out. It was a pretty fun game to watch. They lost to Central Arkansas last season. They lost to South Dakota State. If you guys remember that game, it was like 90-6, I believe. It was just a really, really rough outing for the Golden Lions. But those are their 2 FCS losses in that time span. They played 5 FBS games and 7 non-D1 games. A lot of times they may play 2 non-D1 games in a season. Grambling is 2-2 in that time span. They have had 6 FBS games. They have been playing 2 FBS games a year for a little while and 2 non-D1 games. They beat Tennessee State last season, and then in 2017, I believe it was, they beat Northwestern State. And they also lost to Northwestern State and North Carolina Central North Carolina A&T in the Celebration Bowl in that time span. So that makes Grambling 2-2. Prairie View is 3-5. They have the most. They have the most non-HBCU non-conference wins in the SWAC with 2 in that time span. They beat Houston Baptist and Incarnate Word, and they beat North Carolina Central in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. They lost to Incarnate Word. They lost to Nichols twice, and they lost to Sam Houston twice. So that gave them a 3-5 record. They have 4 FBS games in that time span and 3 non-D1 games in that time span. Southern is 1-3 in that time span in FBS games. Southern did not play an FBS game in 2018. And they have had 6 FBS games in that time span and 5 non-D1 games, which is something that they have done that I don't really agree with. Like I said, you can check out my previous video to see how I feel about the scheduling. Maybe South Carolina State in the MEAC Challenge in 2017. They lost to McNeese twice last season in 2019. And they lost to FAMU in 2019, which gives them that 1-3 record. And finally, Texas Southern is 0-5 in that time span. They did not play an FCS game, a non-conference game last season, or 1 in 2018. They have had 5 FBS games and 3 non-D1 games in that time span. They lost to FAMU, Houston Baptist, Kennesaw State, and Incarnate Word, and Houston Baptist twice. So they lost Houston Baptist twice, FAMU, Incarnate Word, and Kennesaw State in that time span. So basically, as you can see, not a lot of success out of conference, and definitely not a lot of success outside of HBCU opponents. So that has to change. Like I said, that tweet really got my attention, and I wanted to show it the love that it deserves because it's a valid point, and you have to be able to look at both sides of something to make an argument. You can be all SWAC, you can be all whatever, but you have to recognize that the numbers are what they are, and they're not going to change until these teams start to win these games. You don't have to play 3 FCS opponents in your non-conference, but you have to win as many as you can that you schedule. That's just, to me, that's just, simple math. You need to win these games. if you're going to put them on your schedule. So I would love to see that improve, and hopefully that will improve in the near future. But right now, that number is bleak. But I just wanted to show that tweet the attention that it deserved because it was a very valid point, and I just wanted to piggyback on top of it. All right, so now we're gonna jump over to basketball really, really quick. We had two players get invited to the NBA, the NBA G League Elite Camp. Bryson Gresham from Texas Southern and MC Randolph from FAMU. Um, Neither one of those guys got an invite to the NBA Combine because that's basically what the Elite Camp is for. It's a 2-day camp that gives guys an opportunity to earn a Combine invite. Um, there's 76 guys that make the NBA Combine. 7 guys from the G League Elite Camp were invited to the NBA Combine, which takes place this week in Chicago. Neither one of those two guys were there, but they both represented themselves pretty well. I know Gresham really balled out in a couple games. Randolph had some strong performances as well, but neither one of those guys was able to secure an NBA Combine invite. So they'll have to continue to work and get themselves, an opportunity to make it to the NBA. So want to really, just continue to wish these guys luck in their endeavors to get to the NBA. So, don't forget about SWAC basketball. Even though it's over, these guys and young ladies will still have an opportunity to, have some professional success. So just wanted to put that out there really, really quick. Next is softball. The NCAA softball tournament will be beginning. Soon. The regional. So the tournament starts on Friday, May 20th. Prairie View is in the Norman, Oklahoma region. They are the 4th seed. They will be playing the number 1 seed Oklahoma Sooners, who are 49-2 and 17-1 in the Big 12. They are the number 1 overall seed in the tournament after winning 49 of 51 games this season, including the Big 12 regular season title. They've won 3 of the last 5 national championships. Oklahoma is a factory in softball, so Prairie View drew a very tough draw. Prairie View was the 2nd seed in the West, so they are the 4th seed in this regional. They will face Oklahoma. Like I said, Prairie View is 20-28 and 16-8 in conference. Also joining them are Minnesota, who is the 2 seed. They are 24-1 and 11-12 in the Big 10, and then Texas A&M is 29-26 and 6-18 in the SEC. So this is a double elimination tournament. So Prairie View will play Oklahoma on Friday, and then they'll have another game on Saturday, and we'll see where they go from there. So obviously they guarantee 2 games, and then we'll see what happens from then on. So want to just give the Lady Panthers a salute and wish them best of luck as they make their way into the NCAA softball tournament. Finally, we're gonna close this out with baseball, and baseball season is actually coming to a close. This weekend will be the final SWAC series of the season before the SWAC tournament begins, and there's a lot of important baseball left to be played because nobody's locked up any spots at this point. This is a very interesting season. It's a very very even season, and teams have really not really separated themselves from each other. So the top 4 teams from each division go to the tournament, and we'll go over the standings in a minute. But I just want to go over the series that are taking place this weekend. Grambling is at Pine Bluff for a 3-game series. Jackson is at Valley. Bethune-Cookman is at Florida A&M. Prairie View is at Texas Southern. That's a very, very huge series for the SWAC, and you'll see why in a minute when we get to the standings. Alcorn is at Southern, and Alabama State is at Alabama A&M. So on the east side, that FAMU Bethune-Cookman series is very big. Prairie View and TSU on the west side are very big. Grambling playing Pine Bluff is not an easy series, but it's probably a series Grambling should win. They need to win this series. Same thing with Jackson State. They need to win this series to give themselves a better opportunity in the standings. So let's look at the West standings. Right now, Alabama State leads the East with a 21-6 record. They are 30-21 overall. FAMU is 18-9 in conference, 25-26 overall. Right now, they're in the 2 seed. They would need Alabama State to lose all 3 games, and then they would need to sweep the Bethune-Cookman to get themselves an opportunity. So Alabama State right now is sitting kind of pretty in that number 1 spot. So they should probably be the number 1 seed after the end of the weekend. FAMU, like I said, is 18-9 in conference, 25-26 overall. Bethune-Cookman 17-10, 23-29 overall. Jackson State 13-14, 26-25 overall. Alabama A&M is 9-18, 13-33 overall. They're pretty much out. Valley is out. They're 4-22 and 10-28 and 1 overall. So, like I said, that Bethune-Cookman FAMU series is huge. Those 2 teams are only separated by 1 game. The winner of that series will probably get the 2nd seed. The loser of that series will most likely get the 3rd seed. Well, they will get the 3rd seed because you can't climb higher than 4th because they are 4 games behind Bethune-Cookman. So with only 3 games to play, Jackson State is locked into that 4th spot. So one in the East looks like it should be locked up. Although stranger things have happened. If Alabama and them can pick up some kind of sweep over Alabama State, and Sam, you can sweep Bethune-Cookman, they could take the 1 spot. But that's something that may not happen. So right now, it looks like the balance are 2 and 3 in the West and the East. In the West, there's a tie for first place. Southern and Prairie View are tied at 18-9. Prairie View is 28-23. Southern is 21-29. Southern picked up a big series sweep over Prairie View last week and jumped from 4th place to a tie for first place. Southern is 17-10. I think they won that series against Grambling last weekend. Grambling is also 17-10. Southern is 26-22. Grambling 22-29. Pine Bluff is 9-18. They're out. They're 13. Georgia 3-1, and Alcorn is 2-25 and 2-36 overall. So that TSU Prairie View series is really big. The winner of that series is going to find themselves in really good shape with opportunity to with Southern series. Alcorn is obviously not a good team this season. So Southern, you would expect for Southern to get the sweep. Now that don't stranger things have happened. So I'm not automatically saying Southern would get the sweep, but if Southern does, then they would lock up the number 1 seed, provided TSU at least wins 1 game from Prairie View. So if Southern beats Alcorn all 3 games and Prairie View loses 1 game, the TSU division. If anything else happens, then it gets really interesting. TSU can still finish number 1 with a series sweep over Prairie View, and Southern losing a game against Alcorn. They can find themselves in a spot. Grambling as well. They can pick up a sweep over Pine Bluff. Then they can find themselves in a good spot. And so there's nothing in the West concrete or cemented at all. Anybody can finish first. Any of the top 4 teams can finish first. Any of the top 4 teams can finish 4th, and any of the top 4 teams can finish somewhere in the middle. So this weekend series is huge for the West Division all around. So there's a lot of good baseball being played this weekend, and a lot of implications for conference play. And we'll talk about the conference tournament once everything gets settled, and we're kind of going. That's gonna do it for today's show, man. This is our news and notes edition. I think I'm gonna do this more often, just kind of like a random show where we take a little of this, a little of that, and throw it all together. So I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in. Check out SWAC Smoke tomorrow live, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. SWACTalk coming at you again on Sunday. And that's it for me, man. I'm out of here, man. Y'all enjoy y'all Wednesday, and I'll catch y'all on the replay.